Hello. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my chemo journey. I'm on my last infusion, which will be coming on Tuesday. I'm on taxol. I've had 11 infusions so far, so this is my 11th week. And you can see it's affected my hair. But I wanted to talk a little bit about my journey in case someone else is going through the same thing, just to kind of give you an idea what you can expect and what you're going through. Um, I have HER2 positive cancer, breast cancer. I had a very small tumor, 2 millimeters, and it was recommended to me to have chemo with the HER2 positive uh, herceptin added to it, just to try to kill anything that might still be in my body. And it was a hard decision because the doctor did leave it totally up to me. And he said it would improve my chances of it reoccurring. I think it was like 9%. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but HER2 positive cancer is very aggressive. And I really did not want to leave anything in my body to grow. So I did make the decision to go ahead and get the chemotherapy. And then once I'm finished with chemo, I will have a complete mastectomy. I've had a partial so far. We had the tumor removed, and then I had a breast reduction. I'm trying to save my nipples. So I was a large breasted woman, a very full D. And to save your nipples, large breasted woman, the nipples will die. So he suggested, since we could do it in stages, that I could go ahead and have a breast reduction, and then that would allow me to save my nipples when I have my mastectomy. So that was done in February. It's been a lengthy healing process, I should say. If you've ever seen what a mastectomy is, or a breast reduction, you're cut pretty much from armpit to armpit, down the front, and then of course around the nipples. So I have a lot of scarring. February, March, April, May, June. So we're about 5 months past that, and my scarring is still there. I heard it takes a while for it to actually heal to where you can't see it. I still have a little bit of pain. I have a lot of sensitivity, especially in my nipple area where my nerves are trying to regenerate. So they're very, very sensitive. Um, the scarring underneath, there's parts of it that are still a little bit painful, but they're not like horrifically painful. So to have to go through this again in a few weeks is a little daunting, but I'll get through it. But anyway, after I had the breast reduction, then the chemotherapy started. Well, at first I didn't have to have chemotherapy because my cancer was DCIS, which was in the duct. And between the time of this finding out that I had that to the time I had my surgery, it had spread outside the duct. So that's when they recommended the chemotherapy. It had grown about 2 millimeters within maybe a 2 or 3 month period. So it was growing quite quickly. So then that was when I was told to go ahead and I should get the chemotherapy. So I had a port put in, which, if you are on the fence for that, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and do it. It sounds scary, and it's really not that big of a deal. It's right here. Um, Basically, what it is a way for them to access your blood, your veins, instead of having to poke you every time. Chemotherapy does pretty much tear up your veins, so if you're getting IVs every week, you're going to get poked and be in pain quite often. So I'm glad that that was suggested to me, because honestly, it has been very, very, very easy compared to an IV. I hate needles. I have a needle phobia. I had both my children natural. I did not want to have a needle stuck in my back. So the whole issue of getting IVs and all that was scary to me, because seriously, I like get anxiety so bad. So I got a port put in. It was a outpatient procedure. I still had to have surgery to put it in, but I was out the same day. It took a couple weeks to heal to where it wasn't so painful. So, but that part, I didn't know what was to come, so that was the scariest part. So when you know that you're going to have chemo, you never know like how your body is going to react to it. Everybody is different. My father had cancer, and the poor man was deathly sick. Every time he got a chemo treatment, he was put in the hospital. He had to get infusion or blood transfusions every time because his body just did not handle it well. He was sick, couldn't eat anything. But my father did have a really bad cancer, and the cancer or the chemo back those days were a lot harsher than they are these days. So taxol is a pretty harsh chemotherapy, but because mine was spread out over 12 weeks, it helped with the symptoms. So when I went to get my first chemotherapy, the anxiety level for me was way off the charts with just being to access my port. Did not know what to expect. You watch YouTube videos and people are like, oh, it doesn't hurt, it's no big deal, and you're like, right, but you don't have the phobia I do. So that part I was scared out of my mind. And they give you this cream to put on an hour before you go, and it's supposed to help numb it. So I'm slathering that stuff on and hoping beyond hope that what I hear is true, that it's not going to hurt. So when she finally accessed it, she poked me. I didn't feel a thing, not even a stick or anything. So my blood pressure was like 160 when I got there because of the anxiety that I had. And just getting poked there probably brought my anxiety levels way down. So the first thing they'll do when you come in for chemotherapy is you'll get your blood taken so they can check your levels. So each week they'll check your white blood count and red blood count, all the things that are affected by chemo that could cause you to be sick. So they'll draw that out of your port, or if you're getting an IV, you'll get that drawled out. So they pull that out, you wait about 10, 15 minutes, and then those come back and they're like, everything's good. And then that's when you start with your infusions. So my first infusion was a little scary. When they gave it to me, like they put it in, and they give you pre-meds first. I forgot that part. You'll get steroids, Benadryl, and some Pepsid for upset stomach. I was also given steroids beforehand to take. I was supposed to take some the night before, and then I would continue them through the week. So you'll get those, and you have to wait like 20 minutes, but then they'll give you the chemotherapy after that. So once they gave me my chemotherapy, I would say within 10 minutes, I started having a reaction. It was very scary. All of a sudden, my face felt like it was 1,000 degrees. My husband said my face was beet red. I felt short of breath. I felt like I was going to pass out. At that time, the nurses were fantastic. I had a team swarm in, stop the chemotherapy instantly, let me get calmed down, check my blood pressure. So once that happened, they had to contact the doctor. And the doctor said basically to slow it down. I was already going to be there for the first one for like 5 hours. I know it just seems like so long, but he wanted to slow the chemotherapy down and try to give it over twice as long instead. So I think it was supposed to take an hour. So I think it was like after the doctor had said something, I think it took a half an hour for the doctor to get his order sent in. So it was another 2.5 hours. So once they slowed that down, I was fine. It was very scary. I did get more steroids because that's supposed to help with the reaction. But it was scary. And I've heard more people having worse reactions than that. Luckily, I am getting my infusions in an area where the hospital is in the same building. So if I had to have been taken to the hospital, I would have been right there. So that gave me some reassurance. So they slowed that down. By this point, I think I started at like 11, and I think by this point maybe it was 2. I still had like 2 hours of infusion to go. Plus, I still hadn't had the herceptin yet. So once that was given, I can't remember honestly how long it was given over, but I know it was really dragged out. And we were really tired at that point. We had been there for a while. Once they did that, then they gave me my herceptin. My herceptin is a biosimilar. It's given through my port also. I know there are some people that are getting them through their legs. That was only an hour, I think. So that one, I had no side effects to that, thank goodness. And it took, I think we left there at 6:30, which I felt really bad because they closed at 4:30. So the nurse that I had to stay over like 2 hours. So we were there like 6.5 hours. It was so long. And being my first time, I was exhausted. You know, I was glad that it was over when it was over. So the next morning, I woke up and my stomach was upset. I had a headache. So in the middle of the night, I did take some Tylenol because my head was hurting. And I woke up with an upset stomach. So they give you medicine for that. Luckily, that helped. I really didn't have too much side effects the first day besides those 2 things. I felt okay. I went to work. I continued to work all through my chemotherapy. Luckily, I only work part-time, but, I still felt like I needed to do that. The next week, I was apprehensive again because, again, I'm still afraid of the port pain. I'm still afraid of what kind of reaction I'm going to have. And so I asked the nurse, I'm like, so what's the chances of me having a reaction again? And she's like, well, we really don't know. But once it gets into your body kind of gets used to it, and most people won't have a reaction again. So I was hoping that we wouldn't have to like slow it down again and be there forever. But again, we have a 5-hour chunk that we have to be there. So again, come in, we check my, she does my blood, my port access, which, sometimes I'm telling you, it doesn't hurt at all. And then sometimes it's like a little poke. So the most pain I've ever had is like, if you just get kind of a pin and you poke in yourself, that's the most pain I've ever had from that. So, so this time I think I felt a little bit of a pinprick. Not too bad. I got my labs were fine. And then here comes our time with the chemotherapy infusion again, and I'm like getting a little nervous. I was afraid to move because last time when my chemo started, after 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, let's eat some lunch now. We had brought lunch, and I was laying down a little bit, so I got up, and that's when everything started. I was dizzy. I felt everything come on when I moved. So this time I'm like, I am not moving for like 15 minutes after I get my infusion. That way we could be safe that nothing's going to happen. And nothing happened that time. Everything went fine. The infusion lasted for an hour or so. However, this time, every time that they put a new drug in, they flush out your port, and they're supposed to be able to pull blood back. This time, she was a little, well, I shouldn't say she, we named my port Henry, and I'll have more to that later. But, he was a little slow in giving blood. He was still giving it, but he was really slow, which wasn't too concerning. But every time that they switch medications out on you, they have to flush it out and then make sure that they can still draw blood. Well, when I got the chemo to get ready to go in, he was really slow on giving, and I had to like move in all kinds of directions. So they have you like lay back, lay on your side, lay frontwards. Finally, I was able to get it to draw blood, so they were able to proceed. Well, when they got to the herceptin part, which was my last half hour, my herceptin is only a half hour infusion, it wouldn't give at all. And they tried everything. They had me moved sideways, upside down. Okay, I'm exaggerating a bit, but they have you moving all the different ways. So again, here we are. not having something fun to have to go through. So they contact the doctor. The doctor orders some kind of catheter flow stuff, and then they'll put that in, and then they have to wait a half an hour, and then they'll try again, and then if it doesn't still work, then they wait another half hour. So they put it in, half hour goes by, they try, nothing, and I'm like, oh my god. My fear is my anxiety levels going up. My fear is I'm gonna have to get an IV every time I come in, which is like the worst thing to me ever, because like I said, I have a phobia. But after the 30 minutes, she was able to finally get some, and then they could allow the herceptin to go in. So woo, I got that. So I was excited about that. I didn't have to get an IV. She's like, well, we could just throw an IV in if you want. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I spent, so much money and time on this thing that I decided we'll do everything we can. All right. So my third time, my blood draw, everything went okay. Oh, by the way, I still hadn't had much symptoms. Luckily, I wasn't too nauseous. I still was getting temple headaches, and I think that's from the herceptin. My hair was starting to thin out after the third. I have a lot of hair, like it's very, very thick. So I was able to go 2 weeks with my hair falling out without it looking like I was going bald. And we'll talk about the fourth week. So the third week we went in. Blood draw was a little slow. What's funny about this time is this is when a nurse said, you know what, we need to name your port. So he needs attention. Obviously, he's wanting more attention than we're giving. So if we give him a name, maybe he'll do better. So she named him Henry. And so Henry is my port. And he gets a lot of praise throughout the week because I don't want him to ever act up. But my third week went marvelously. Blood draw was fine, no side effects, no, I was able to get my infusions. We were out within maybe 3 or 4 hours. I think it was perfect. And then my fourth week is when I started seeing my hair coming out pretty good. Like I could pull it and I would get handfuls. Now I'm one of those lucky people that I didn't get patches. Mine kind of fell out all, kind of equally. I started losing arm hair, well, hair everywhere. No leg hair, no underarm hair, genital, it's all coming out everywhere, which is nice because you don't have to shave. So that was like the plus. I don't know if I want to give my hair up on my head, but so I don't have to shave, but it was nice to not have to shave. One of my major side effects was weight gain. I was on a high dose of steroids. He would give me some because of my reaction. I was supposed to take them the night before, the day of. Then they give you a large when you're there. And then for the 3 days following, you take them also. So at this point, I hadn't seen my oncologist yet. So when I got there, I'm like, okay, listen, I am gaining weight like rapidly. At that point, I had gained like 10 pounds in 4 weeks. And I'm like, this is not fun. And he's like, well, are you nauseous at all afterwards? And I said, no. And he said, well, then you can stop taking the steroids afterwards. Because of the allergic reaction before, I want you to continue with those, but you can stop the 3 after. At this time also, this would be like week 4. My blood sugar was rising. Normally my blood sugar is in the 90s. It was rising each week, and I think at this point it was like 150, which is concerning. Steroids do affect your blood sugar levels and how your body can process them. So my body was not doing well. So that kind of scared me a bit. So I was kind of grateful to be able to take off some of the steroids afterwards to see if that would help. So at this point, my hair was coming out so badly that I said I have to shave it. And that was a really hard decision because as a woman, your hair is your identity. And, to take that away. And plus you get to the point where like nobody knows what you're going through. And once you shave your head, it's kind of obvious that you're going through something. And, I'm not one to draw attention to myself, to ask for pity. I'm a strong person. I can do this. I don't need pity. So that was a hard decision, but my husband was the one that did it. We put, I think the guard was on maybe a 2 or a 3, and we just buzzed it off. Now, it was hard when he was doing it because I know everybody keeps talking about, you don't know how your hair's going to grow back. And that's scary to me. I have curly hair, and I'm like, and blonde hair. I've had naturally blonde hair all my life, and I'm like, what's it going to do? Come back like black? And, so it's kind of scary to think what it was going to do. So I think that was probably the hardest thing to overcome, is to let it go. But once I did it, I was glad I did it. I was no longer obsessed with watching it fall out and fall out and fall out. I just had short, spiky hair. Um, it kind of helped me take my focus off of things. Because when you're sitting there and watching TV, you're kind of playing and you're realizing it's falling out, and it, I don't know, you're obsessed with it. So it was a good to shave it. So if you're on the fence on that, I would say, just do it. It is freeing. Um, Still, again, not having a lot of symptoms up by week 4, and I was told that usually by the 4th week, that's when everything will heighten and you'll know what symptoms you're going to have. And it was kind of scary to me because we were going on a cruise at week 6, and I'm like, I don't want to be sick, while I'm on my cruise. But at this point, I had very little nauseous, my headaches have subsided. My biggest thing was had no energy. The day after infusion, not so bad. Felt normal. But I have my infusions on Wednesday, so Thursday I always felt okay. Friday, I was dead. And usually what would happen is if Thursday I would feel so good that I would just, because I'm home on break from college. I teach college, and so I work a lot around my yard and my garden and my house. So I would just overdo myself, and then the next day I can't even move because I am so exhausted. So that's really my biggest symptom so far, is just having to deal with the energy level. It's affected me in the fact that I don't want to work out because I'm afraid that if I work out, that I am not going to be able to move the next day. So with the weight gain, I'm sure some of that comes because I'm not working out too, because I love to walk, but I was afraid to do that. So let's see. Henry has behaved since then. I haven't had any issues since, I would say, the 4th week. He keeps producing wonderfully now that he's got a name. My hair, I still have some. I don't know if you can tell. It hasn't completely fallen out, but I am still bald. Eyebrows are about halfway, I'd say, from here over. I don't have any. Eyelashes are very sparse. But what's strange is I noticed that my arm hair is starting to grow back. And when I look that up, it says it's kind of normal for some people to have their hair grow back before they're done with their treatments. So I'm like, come on, come back. So, like I said, peach fuzz on my arms and my legs, I've noticed. So I'm hoping that this is as much as it'll fall out. I do have a wig that I wear, but for most part, I wear a baseball cap. I'm not much of a head wrap person. I don't know, it kind of just feels like, people know you're sick. So I know wearing a baseball cap, you're still obviously bald, but I don't know, it just makes me feel a little bit more normal. My my sugar levels have come down. So the highest, I think I was at 158. I think I was at 120 on Wednesday this week. So I'm hoping that taking away some of those will help bring it down. I'm only taking the steroid the night before, and then the steroids they give me for my pre-meds. So I'm hoping my body can adjust to that again. Weight gain is about 15 pounds or so. I'm kind of fluctuating. So I'm not too happy about that because I worked really hard to get off 20 pounds this past year. And I feel like it just in one swoop, it's back. But overall, I feel blessed that I could have had a lot worse with symptoms, especially watching what my dad went through. So, if you're getting ready to start, know everybody's body does react differently, but, you know, you will get through it. I am on my last one, and thank God, I'm so glad to be done. Even though you don't have a lot of symptoms, it affects you. I mean, you're not yourself. I'm ready to be myself again. So to know that I only have one more totally excites me to death. And I've been counting down. Today is Saturday. I'm like, Tuesday at 7 o'clock in the morning is my last one. So I have 3 more days before my last one, and then I can be done with this. My doctor says it takes about 3 weeks to get your energy level back to where it was. But I'm hanging on, and he says it takes about 3 months for your hair to start growing back. So I start back my job in late August, so I will still be wearing a wig. I was very blessed. My insurance company paid for $300 of my wig. My wig was $600. I got a really nice lace top wig. And then a lady that my husband works with graciously donated the rest. And so I didn't have to pay for anything out of my pocket. So there are some wonderful people out there, and there are resources everywhere. Take advantage of it. No, you're not alone. I know when I found out I was going to have chemo and I needed answers, I'm a planner. I need to know things. That was the first thing I did, was get on YouTube and hunt for people that were going through the same experiences that I was. So I wanted to share my experience with you, hoping that I can give you some ray of hope that it's not, you know, it's not all horrible. Your body is going through a lot. Your body will go through a lot. You will go through a lot. Um, Physically, your body is going through a lot, but mentally, I think you're harder on the mental part is the hardest part. Um, but I am at the end of that journey, and I'm hoping that I don't have to do this again. The doctor is very optimistic about my chances of this returning, because my cancer was so small, and that we got it right away. Um, my chances are good. So I'm glad that I didn't do this for nothing, and I hope that this ensures you that you will be fine and you're going to get through this. If you do have symptoms that I didn't have, there are so many people out there that give such great advice. So, go search in and see what you can find. The internet can be a haunting thing, but it also could be a helpful thing. So use it to your advantage. You've got this.